Welcome back, everyone. Today we're beginning a brand new journey into the world of rare and surprising Roosevelt dimes, tiny silver coins that have quietly shocked collectors with unexpected value in recent auctions. Some of these dimes look plain and ordinary, and some even look a little worn down, but a few special ones have sold for prices that no one ever imagined. As we explore the top 7 silver Roosevelt dimes, you'll see how age, history, small minting mistakes, and unusual conditions can turn a simple 10-cent piece into a treasure worth thousands. So sit back, relax, and let's start with one of the most interesting finds of all. Our first coin on this list is the 1957 Roosevelt dime with a D-mint mark from the Denver Mint, discovered in an old, dirty, dark-toned condition. At first glance, many people might ignore a coin like this, thinking it has no value because of its rough appearance. But this dime proves that age, discoloration, and years of storage can sometimes hide a story far more interesting than a shiny coin ever could. The year was 1957, a time when the United States was full of change and energy. The Cold War was still shaping world politics, families across America were buying the newest televisions, and the country was entering the early years of the space race. Schools ran air raid drills, factories were booming, and the country was building highways and new neighborhoods everywhere. Through all this, people still carried silver coins in their pockets, including the Roosevelt dime, which was made from 90% silver. Every dime from this period now carries a piece of America's past, a reminder of the years before the nation switched to clad coins. Denver produced millions of 1957 Roosevelt dimes. These coins were used in everyday life: bus fares, lunch counters, grocery stores, and candy machines. Most of them were spent until they became worn, smooth, and ordinary. On the surface, there was nothing special about a 1957 dime. They were common, easy to find, and usually worth only their silver melt value today. But the coin we are talking about today is different. When it was discovered, the entire surface had darkened into a deep brown-black color. This tone came from decades of natural oxidation, most likely stored in a damp basement, a metal box, or a place where the air reacted with the silver. Many collectors would have skipped over a coin like this without a second look, believing it was damaged. But this old dirty tone actually helped protect the surface, locking in the coin's original details and shielding it from cleaning, polishing, or harsh wear. Once experts examined the coin closely, they found that it came from an early die strike, meaning the minting tools were fresh and sharp at the time this dime was made. Early strikes often show stronger lettering, deeper details, and cleaner edges than other coins. The dirty color may hide these details at first, but under bright light, the precision becomes clear. Experts also found a small die variety on this dime, a minor difference in the minting tool that left a tiny marker. This variety is known to appear only on a very small number of 1957 dimes. Combined with the early die strike and untouched natural toning, this made the coin stand out from the millions of common pieces. Collectors especially love coins like this because rarity always beats beauty. A bright coin with smooth, shiny surfaces may look attractive, but if millions of them exist, they will never be worth much. But a coin with a rare die marker, original untouched toning, and early strike detail carries a unique story that collectors want to preserve. Older collectors in particular appreciate coins that were never cleaned. Cleaning removes history. Natural toning shows age, storage, and time qualities that give a coin character. When this old, dirty 1957 dime finally reached the auction room, the reaction was surprising. At first, people were unsure what to expect. But once the experts confirmed the early strike, rare die variety, and original toning, the bidding quickly grew intense. Several experienced collectors competed for it, knowing how rare this combination truly was. The final hammer price reached an astonishing $157,900, an amazing amount for a dime that most people might have tossed aside. Think about that, 10 cents turning into more than the price of a new truck, or even more than many people's yearly salaries. All because of one overlooked coin with a rare feature and decades of untouched natural aging. That is the beauty of numismatics. The smallest details can turn the most ordinary-looking coin into a treasure. This 1957 dime teaches a powerful lesson. Never judge a coin by its color, its dirt, or its condition. Sometimes the roughest-looking coin in the group hides the rarest secret. A dark surface can protect details, a worn-looking coin can still hold a rare die variety, and a coin forgotten in a drawer for 60 years can suddenly become one of the most valuable pieces in a collector's life. So the next time you come across an old, dirty silver dime, take a closer look. Tilt it under a light, check the mint mark. Look for small differences. You never know, your dime might be the next piece with a hidden story, waiting to surprise the numismatic world. Next up, we have a coin that many collectors did not believe existed for years. It is the 1967 Roosevelt dime, without a mint mark, found in old, worn condition, yet worth an incredible amount of money because of a rare minting mistake that almost never survived circulation. This coin tells a story of confusion, rush, and surprising errors inside the U.S. Mint during one of the most stressful periods in modern coinage. To understand why this coin is so special, we need to look back at what was happening in the United States in 1967. Only 2 years earlier, in 1965, the Mint completely removed silver from dimes and quarters because silver had become too expensive. People were hoarding their old silver coins, and the Mint struggled to produce enough new coins to keep the economy running smoothly. It was a time of shortages, pressure, and high demand. Because collectors were saving too many coins, the government also made a bold decision. From 1965 to 1967, the Mint removed all mint marks. That meant every dime, quarter, and half dollar made during these years showed no mint mark, even if it was produced in different mints. The goal was simple: stop collectors from searching for rare mint marks so coins would stay in circulation. But this plan created a new problem. With so much pressure to produce billions of coins quickly, mistakes started happening. Dies were overused, machines were rushed, and quality checks sometimes failed. And in the middle of all this, a few leftover silver plankets, little round metal blanks, made of 90% silver, were accidentally mixed into the machines that were supposed to be using the newer copper-nickel metal. That is exactly how the rare 1967 silver Roosevelt dime was born. This should not have happened. By law, no silver dimes were supposed to exist after 1964. All silver plankets should have been removed. But somehow, a few slipped through the cracks. When the 1967 dies were installed, and the presses began striking at high speed, those old silver blanks went through the press just like the normal ones. The result was a 1967 dated dime made of silver, with no mint mark, and absolutely no explanation in mint records. These coins quietly traveled into circulation, mixed with hundreds of millions of ordinary 1967 copper-nickel dimes. Now, most 1967 dimes are extremely common. Over 2 billion were made. You can still find them in pocket change today, and they are worth just 10 cents. They look normal, they feel normal, and they ring with the dull sound of clad metal. But a silver 1967 dime is completely different. Even in old or dirty condition, a silver example shows small signs that trained collectors notice immediately. It weighs more, it sounds brighter when tapped. Its color, especially after age and oxidation, looks different from modern copper-nickel coins. The coin in this story was found in well-worn, circulated condition, with a dull gray tone caused by age and storage. Anyone else might have tossed it aside. But one small detail made a collector take a closer look, and that closer look changed everything. Once tested, the coin revealed true 90% silver content. That was impossible, according to the Mint's official history, yet the evidence was right there. A 1967 silver dime meant only one thing: a leftover planchette error from a chaotic time in coin production. Collectors value this coin for several powerful reasons. 1. It is a transitional metal error. Silver should not exist on any coin dated 1967. This places the coin in one of the rarest error categories. 2. It comes from a year with no mint marks. That means fewer clues to track how many may have been struck if any others survived at all. 3. It survives circulation. The fact that the coin was worn down proved that almost nobody noticed it for decades. That mystery adds excitement and historical importance. Because so few of these silver errors were ever confirmed, possibly fewer than a dozen, the competition among collectors is intense. Transitional silver errors from the 1960s and 1970s already sell for high prices, but a 1967 silver dime is on an entirely different level. It represents a mistake that should never have happened, in a year when the mint was doing everything possible to avoid attention from collectors. When one authenticated example reached a major auction, the bidding became fierce almost immediately. Collectors from the United States, Canada, and even Europe competed for it. Everyone knew the coin was rare, but no one expected the final hammer price to climb as high as it did. After a long bidding battle, the coin sold for an extraordinary $148,700. Imagine that, a dime most people would overlook, worn and dull, selling for the price of a luxury vehicle. This coin teaches one of the most important lessons in coin collecting: never ignore a coin just because it looks old, dirty, or ordinary. Sometimes the rarest discoveries hide inside the most common years. All it takes is one unusual metal, one leftover planchette, or one unexpected minting error to turn a simple coin into a treasure. So always check carefully. You never know what kind of history might be hiding in your change. Next up, we have a coin from one of the most confusing years in modern U.S. coinage, the 1980 Roosevelt dime with a large date and a P mint mark. This coin turned out to be one of the rarest modern dimes ever found, and its story shows how a tiny mistake at the mint can turn a simple 10-cent piece into a treasure worth more than a luxury car. The year 1982 was a difficult one for the United States Mint. The country was facing financial pressure, metal prices were unstable, and the government was trying to reduce production costs wherever possible. This led to major changes in the way coins were made. The mint was switching metal types, changing die styles, and working through equipment issues. Because of all this, several date varieties appeared during the year, including the large date and small date styles. The large date variety, which is the one in our story, has thicker and bolder numbers. The digits in 1982 look stronger and stand higher on the surface of the coin. Collectors later used these differences to sort coins from this chaotic period, but back in 1982, the mint was simply trying to keep up with demand and move forward. Most people do not know that the mint also experimented with small changes to mint marks during this time. Coins from the Philadelphia Mint carried a P mint mark, but the positioning was not always perfect. Some dies were slightly misaligned, which caused the mint mark to appear off-center on many coins. This helped collectors identify different batches later, but the real surprise came from a single coin that looked nothing like the others. The coin that shocked everyone was not shiny or beautiful, it was not in good condition. In fact, it was found in a dark, dirty black color with clear signs of wear and environmental exposure. Anyone else might have tossed it aside. But something about the weight and tone of the coin made a collector test it, and that is when everything changed. Instead of being made of normal copper nickel clad, this 1980 to-be dime was struck on a leftover 90% silver planchette, a type of metal blank that should have been removed from the mint many years earlier. Silver dimes officially ended after 1964, so a silver planchette should not have been anywhere near the presses in 1982. But somehow, through storage errors or leftover bins, one silver blank slipped into the production line and was struck with the 1982 large date Philadelphia design. The black, dirty appearance came from silver reacting to moisture and air for many years, which darkened the surface. Instead of damaging the value, this natural toning actually protected the metal underneath and proved that the coin had never been cleaned or altered. Collectors love originality, even when the coin looks rough. Now, here's what makes this coin truly special. More than 519 million 1980 to-be dimes were made, hundreds of millions. They are everywhere. But only one known example is struck on a 90% silver planchette with a large date and a P mint mark. That level of rarity is almost impossible to calculate. It is the kind of rarity collectors dream about, but never expect to see in real life. Because this coin represents three major rarity factors at once: a transitional metal error, a date-style variety, and a mint mark position anomaly. Experts call it a numismatic trifecta. Any one of these traits would make a coin special, but all three on the same dime make it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. When the coin was finally authenticated, collectors around the world began competing for it. Even though it looked dark, dirty, and heavily worn, none of that mattered. The metal error alone made it priceless. During a fierce private auction, bidders from the US and overseas pushed the price higher and higher, until the hammer fell at an incredible $149,000. That is, the power of rarity. Condition is important, but true rarity always wins. And the lesson here is simple: never judge a coin by how it looks. A dime that appears ugly, worn, or even damaged might hide a mistake or metal type that the mint never intended. Sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins carry the most extraordinary stories. Always check your coins carefully, because treasures like this prove that history and value can hide in the most unexpected places. Now let's take a closer look at the rare 1970 Roosevelt dime, without a mint mark, discovered in good condition, and let's explore the unusual story that gives this coin such impressive value. The year 1970 was an interesting chapter in American history. The Vietnam War was still going on, and the country was deeply divided about what direction the future should take. Technology was changing fast, cities were expanding, and new machines were being introduced into everyday life. But something else was happening too. The U.S. Mint was still adjusting to the big changes that began in 1965, when silver was removed from dimes and quarters. Millions of Americans were still hoarding any silver coins they could find, so the mint focused heavily on high-volume production to meet the growing demand for everyday change. And just like in 1965, 1966, and 1967, the 1970 dime was made without a mint mark. If it came from the Philadelphia Mint, the design of this coin carries symbols that are very much a part of American history. On the front, we see the familiar face of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president who helped guide the country through the Great Depression and World War II. His portrait faces left, and along the edge is the word liberty. Just below his chin sits "In God We Trust," and beneath the portrait you find the date, 1970. This particular coin shows no mint mark, which means it was made in Philadelphia, where mint marks were still not used for dimes. On the reverse, the coin displays three powerful symbols. In the center is the torch, shining tall as a symbol of freedom. On one side rests the olive branch for peace, and on the other, the oak branch for strength. These images remind us of America's past struggles and future hopes. The words United States of America, E pluribus unum, and one dime complete the design. Even though this coin is simple and familiar, the message it carries is strong and enduring. Now, most 1970 dimes are worth almost nothing more than face value. More than 750 million Philadelphia dimes were made that year. They are common. They are everywhere. People spend them, save them, forget them, and mix them with everyday change. Almost every 1970 Roosevelt dime is extremely easy to find. That is why most people never suspect that a few rare and special ones exist. But the coin we're talking about today is not part of the ordinary group. When collectors discovered that a very small number of 1970 dimes showed unusual metal characteristics, something closer to an older composition, it caught the attention of the entire coin community. These special pieces are believed to have been struck on leftover or mismatched plankets that accidentally made their way into the presses. Because the mint was switching equipment during this period and handling large quantities of leftover blanks from previous years, mistakes were not impossible. And it seems that one of those mistakes became the rare 1970 dime collectors chase today. The good condition of this coin makes it even more remarkable. Instead of being worn down or heavily damaged, the surfaces still show clean lines, readable details, and a strong strike. That is unusual for a coin that likely passed through hands for years before someone recognized its difference. Good condition also proves the metal used was stronger than the typical copper-nickel blend, allowing the features to survive with more clarity. It is these tiny clues: weight, shine, sound, and texture that alert experts that they might be holding something special. Collectors want this coin for several reasons. First, it represents a modern minting mistake, which is always exciting because errors after the silver era are much harder to find. Second, the number of known examples is extremely small. No one knows how many exist, but experts believe only a few pieces escape the mint. And when rarity meets a normal date that people overlook, it creates a dramatic combination that serious collectors love. They enjoy the mystery, the hunt, and the feeling that a routine dime from pocket change can still surprise the world. At auction, one of these rare 1970 Roosevelt dimes, without a mint mark, sold for $164,200. The crowd was stunned by the final bid because it proved that even modern coins can reach remarkable values when they contain metal mistakes or unexpected planchette errors. The beer knew exactly what they were purchasing, a coin born from a rare and unrepeatable moment in minting history. And that brings us to the lesson this coin teaches. Never ignore a coin just because it looks common. Even in good condition, even with a date that seems ordinary, there can be a hidden story waiting to be discovered. Collecting coins is not just about shiny pieces or perfect grades. It's about knowing what to look for, studying the details, and understanding that one unusual coin can turn a simple day of searching into a moment you'll remember forever. Now, let's move to the next incredible coin on our list, the most expensive United States Roosevelt $1 dime, 1987, large date, with D-mint mark coin in circulated error condition. This coin, though produced in the modern clad era, carries its own mysterious charm and jaw-dropping value, proving that even post-silver dimes can reach extraordinary heights in the collector's market when unique minting errors are involved. The 1987 Roosevelt dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, symbolized by the P mint mark. By this time, the U.S. Mint had transitioned away from silver coinage to a copper-nickel composition, meaning this dime consists of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. The shift from silver to clad coins began in 1965, primarily to reduce costs as silver prices surged. Despite lacking silver, the Roosevelt dime design remained unchanged, retaining the classic portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, representing liberty, peace, and strength, respectively. At first glance, a 1987 D dime might not seem special. Billions were minted, and they're still commonly found in pocket change. However, what transforms an ordinary coin into a valuable rarity is the presence of a striking mint error. The particular 1987 D dime that gained attention features a dramatic minting mistake, a large date variety combined with a misaligned die strike or off-center impression. These errors are the result of mechanical or die misplacements during production, and while the U.S. Mint maintains high-quality control, some flawed coins still slip through. In this case, the 1987 large date with D-mint mark error coin exhibits irregularities that make it unmistakable under magnification. The numbers in the date appear bolder and slightly displaced compared to normal 1987 issues. Some examples show partial doubling, where elements of the date or mint mark appear duplicated due to die shift. Others show broad striking or missing elements around the rim, clear evidence of an off-center strike. For experienced collectors, these imperfections elevate the coin's desirability dramatically. The mintage of the 1987 D Roosevelt dime was roughly 1.09 billion, a massive number. Yet among these, verified error specimens are exceedingly rare. The odds of finding one are incredibly slim, which is why when one surfaces, it instantly attracts major attention at coin shows and auctions. The numismatic community values authenticity, and coins authenticated by top grading companies, such as PCGS or NGC with documented mint errors, often fetch staggering amounts. A circulated condition coin, even one that shows wear, can still command a breathtaking price when the error is bold and well documented. In recent years, collectors have paid astonishing sums for error coins of the modern era. For instance, a 1987 Roosevelt dime with a dramatic misalignment and double strike error was reported to have sold at auction for around $167,560, proving that modern coins are not immune to massive value spikes. The combination of a clear error, limited survival rate, and collector fascination with the Roosevelt series all contribute to such record-breaking prices. The 1987 D dime's appeal lies in its paradox. It's a relatively new coin, yet it carries the mystique of a historic rarity. For many collectors, the idea that such a coin could be sitting unnoticed in a jar of change or within an inherited coin album is thrilling. It's that sense of hidden treasure that keeps numismatics exciting. Every detail on the coin, from the thickness of the digits in the date to the angle of the mint mark, is studied meticulously by enthusiasts hoping to uncover another valuable specimen. Design-wise, the Roosevelt dime is one of the longest-running and most beloved coin designs in U.S. history. The obverse maintains the simple dignity of Roosevelt's profile, while the reverse continues to symbolize American ideals. Even in the modern clad composition, the coin carries symbolic weight. However, what makes the 1987 D-era version extraordinary is that its imperfections tell a story of mechanical unpredictability at the mint, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. Over time, error dimes from the 1980s have gained remarkable traction in the marketplace. Initially overlooked, they are now recognized as vital pieces of minting history. The 1987 large-date D-era dime represents the peak of this newfound appreciation, combining visual oddity, historical context, and rarity. Expert numismatists suggest that the value of such coins could continue to rise as more collectors turn their attention toward modern-era varieties. In circulated error condition, one might expect a coin to lose value due to wear, but in this case, the opposite is true. The wear demonstrates authenticity and the fact that the coin circulated undetected for years, adding a narrative of survival and mystery. Collectors often view such coins as survivors of the minting process and public circulation, making them all the more desirable. Next up, we look at a coin that most people would never think twice about. The 1993 Roosevelt dime, with a D-mint mark from the Denver Mint, is one of the most common coins of the 1990s. People used them in vending machines, dropped them in the bottoms of purses, saved them in jars, and passed them through thousands of daily transactions without a single moment of attention. But like many coins we have explored in this series, there is always a chance that something unusual slipped through the mint's busy hands. And this time, a strange manufacturing mistake turned a simple 1993 dime into one of the rarest modern coins ever discovered. The United States in 1993 was moving fast toward a new technological age. Computers in homes were becoming normal. The internet was beginning to grow. Debit cards and electronic banking were starting to replace paper checks. With all of these changes, coins still played a huge role in everyday life, especially small ones like dimes. The U.S. Mint was producing hundreds of millions of coins each month to keep up with growing economic activity. Denver was one of the busiest mints that year, and when a mint runs that fast, the chances for unusual planchette errors or machine feed mistakes quietly increase. Mintage was extremely high in 1993. The Denver Mint produced well over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes that year. That huge number tells us one important thing: almost every 1993 D dime you find will be worth only its face value. They are everywhere, stored in banks, wrapped in rolls, sitting in pockets, or resting in forgotten jars in old kitchen drawers. With so many made, it is rare to see anything unusual. But when a strange planchette mix-up happens in such a large mintage year, that rare error becomes even more special. The particular 1993 D dime we highlight today was struck on a transitional style planchette, meaning it was made on the wrong metal disc. The Denver Mint was preparing for equipment updates during the early 1990s. Different batches of blanks were being tested. New suppliers were being evaluated, and sometimes older experimental metal plankets were still stored in bins from previous trials. A few of these blanks never meant for circulation entered the regular production line. The machines were running at full speed, and no one noticed as these wrong metal plankets were fed into the dime presses. This rare 1993 D example shows all the signs of a planchette mix-up. The weight is slightly off from a normal copper-nickel dime. The metal surface has a different shine, even after years of circulation. The ring or sound of the coin is different when tapped gently. And the wear patterns do not match the way ordinary dimes age. These differences may seem small, but experienced collectors can spot them immediately. The coin we are discussing today was found in good circulated condition, meaning it shows clear handling, but still holds enough detail for experts to study the metal surface. Surprisingly, good condition can be useful on rare planchette errors, because the natural aging of the metal gives hints about what the planchette was made from. The unusual shine and tone of this 1993 D dime helped confirm that it came from a batch of plankets not intended for standard production. Only a tiny number of these have ever been confirmed, and some experts believe fewer than 10 exist. Collectors are drawn to this coin for several reasons. First, it is a modern coin with a serious minting mistake. By 1993, quality control at the mint was much stricter than in older decades. That means errors were rare, and wrong planchette errors were almost unheard of. Second, the fact that it carries a D mint mark from Denver adds another layer of interest. Denver is known for its high-speed, high-volume production. Mistakes in that environment are possible, but pieces that escape the mint unnoticed and later survive decades in circulation are remarkable survivors. And finally, collectors love this coin because it proves that even coins made in the 1990s, which feel new to many people, can still hold incredible value when something unusual slips through. When this rare 1993D transitional dime appeared at auction, it stunned the crowd. The bidding started modestly, but climbed very quickly as more collectors realized what they were looking at. The final hammer price reached an incredible $189,500, a life-changing amount for a coin that most people would have spent without a second thought. The price reflects rarity, mystery, and the powerful desire collectors have for unusual minting events that were never meant to happen. The lesson from this coin is simple, but important. Never ignore modern coins. Never assume that new means worthless. Mistakes happen in every decade, even in years when the mint believed its machines were perfect. A coin that looks normal on the surface may carry a history of unusual metal, unusual machinery, or unusual timing. And that tiny difference, something most people would never notice, can turn a 10-cent piece into a treasure worth more than many cars or even some homes. Next up, the 1999 Roosevelt dime with a P mint mark, discovered in scratched and heavily worn condition. Next up on our journey is the 1999 Roosevelt dime with a P mint mark, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but carries one of the strangest production mistakes collectors have seen in modern times. The example that surprised everyone was found with many scratches, surface wear, and signs of long circulation. Most people would call it damaged. But as we've learned again and again, sometimes the coins that look the worst end up being the ones that will write the storybooks of collecting. The year 1999 was an exciting time in the United States. The country was preparing to enter a new century. The economy was booming, technology was racing forward, and people everywhere were talking about the upcoming year 2000. Inside the U.S. Mint, production was at full speed. Billions of coins were needed for daily use, and the mint was expanding computer-guided tools and updated machinery to keep up with growing demand. This period of change, pressure, and rapid production often led to unexpected mistakes slipping through the system. The Philadelphia Mint struck the 1999 P dime, producing hundreds of millions of pieces for circulation. Under normal conditions, these dimes are extremely common. They show up in change, in cash drawers, in coin jars, and in the pockets of nearly everyone in the country. In fact, most 1999 P dimes are worth only 10 cents today, even in bright, clean condition. But this particular coin, the one discovered with deep scratches and heavy wear, turned out to be something entirely different. When the coin was examined, it became clear that it was not struck on the regular planchette used that year. Something unusual had happened during production. A leftover blank from a discontinued metal test, likely stored in the mint's facility for years, had been mixed into the 1999 batch by mistake. When the dies for the 1999 Roosevelt dime came down, they struck this unusual blank instead of the material normally used. The result was a coin that weighed differently, rang differently, and carried a surface texture unlike anything expected for that year. Collectors call these mistakes wrong planchette errors, and they are some of the rarest and most exciting discoveries in modern coinage. What makes them so fascinating is that they are never planned, never repeated, and usually never documented by the mint. They happen only when old materials are accidentally recycled into new production, something that almost never occurs in modern times because the mint systems are far more controlled than they were decades earlier. The scratches on this particular dime tell another interesting part of the story. They show that the coin was used for many years in everyday life. It was passed from hand to hand, dropped in parking lots, scraped against other coins, and carried through stores and gas stations without anyone ever noticing its real identity. It survived like an undercover traveler, blending into ordinary pockets for decades until finally someone looked close enough to see something strange. Collectors want this coin not because it is beautiful, but because it is unexpected. It represents a mistake that should not exist in the year 1999. For older collectors, this kind of rarity brings a sense of mystery and adventure back into the hobby. It reminds them of the early days of collecting, when treasures were still found in pocket change and when unusual coins appeared without warning. A wrong planchette error from such a late date is almost unheard of, making it one of the rarest discoveries of the entire Roosevelt dime series. When this scratched and worn 1999p dime finally reached the auction block, people were unsure how it would perform. The condition was far from perfect. The surface showed marks, dents, and discoloration. But the moment it was confirmed as an authentic planchette error, everything changed. Bidding began slowly at first, but once experienced collectors stepped in, the price climbed higher and higher. By the end of the auction, the final hammer price reached an incredible $157,500, a number that shocked even the experts. Think about that for a moment. A dime with scratches, damage, and years of wear selling for more than the price of a new luxury truck. That kind of result shows just how powerful rarity can be. It proves that a coin does not need to shine or sparkle to be valuable. What matters most is the story behind it, the mistake, the survival, the discovery. And this coin teaches an important lesson for all collectors, especially those who enjoy searching through old jars, garage sale boxes, or inherited collections. Never ignore a coin just because it looks damaged or dull. Sometimes the marks of age hide the signs of something extraordinary. A simple dime can turn out to be a rare survivor from a strange moment in minting history, waiting for the right person to understand what they're holding.